Today, I'm going to show you how to play Prot Paladin in dungeons and in raids, but first, make sure to hit subscribe. Palis might actually be one of the best tanks in all of World of Warcraft's Season of Discovery. Shamans are very good as well. However, Paladins have some unique abilities that make them stand out from the crowd. Talents and runes. For talents and runes, there's actually two builds that I like to go with. But first, let's start with the Consecration build. This one's pretty much good for anything. However, it shines in dungeons and multi-target fights. For this build, you're going to go 11 points in Consecration, 32 in Protection, and 8 in Retribution. I like to have all my points in defense here, but you can swap out 1 point in defense for 1 point in deflection. I just think that defense is the best overall stat for Paladins in SOD Season 4 because it gives you 4 attack power as well as 2 spell power per defense point. And that's just the way that I like to build my tanks is maxing out defense. For the runes, you're going to want Sanctuary, Shield of Righteousness, Aegis, Hammer of Righteousness, Hand of Reckoning, and the one that you really need is Malleable Protection. This is the one that's going to give you 4 attack power for each point of defense that you have beyond 300. You'll want Avenger's Shield for the legs. I like Guarded by Light on the feet, but for single target fights, you can swap over to Art of War so you can get more exorcisms if you're not struggling with mana. And then if you are a human, I go defense and holy spec. However, if you are a non-human, you might want to swap one of these for your axe or mace special or sword specialization, depending on which weapon that you're using. Okay, let's have a look at the single target build. The only thing you're going to be changing in the single target build is you're going to be grabbing Vindication and you're dropping the points in Imp Seal of Righteousness where you could put, and it's going to leave you with 2 extra points. And you can put these points wherever you want. You can put them in Pursuit of Justice. You can put them in Improved Judgment. You can put them in Critical Strike with weapons. I tend to like 1 point in defense and 1 point in Crit Strike with weapons. But this is totally up to you. You could also put it in Armor. That last 1 to 2 points is completely up to you. You could even put it down here. 100% chance to gain an extra attack after getting crit. Reckoning is a good skill, so maybe you go with something like this instead of the crit, but that's what that is completely up to you. You have a little bit of flexibility there with the last few points. The build below will stay the same, so there's nothing much that you need to change in the talents, just that this build will give you slightly more damage and a better output with single target since you don't need since you won't be pressing Consecration on one target. I have dual spec on my Paladin, and I usually run this spec for raid, and then I run Consecration build for dungeons. Stat Prio. For gear, we're primarily going to be stacking 6% hit. Paladins get 3% from talents, so you only need 3% on your gear. Then it's defense, stamina, strength, block value and block chance, crit, and then attack power and spell power. Gear. Zocify has the best pre-bis list of any website up right now for tank paladins, but you're going to want 8 of 8 Soul Forge, and then you want to fill in your other slots with other items that hopefully have defense on them. Zocify is going to give you a really good list of the top 3 to 4 bis items that you can choose from to fill in the extra slots and to fill in the slots before you fill out your 8 of 8 tier 0.5. As far as gear goes, this is what I have for pre-bis. You're going to want to get the 8 of 8 tier 0.5. I'm rocking the Grand Marshal Morris medallion because it has plus defense on it. I didn't actually get the cloak that I wanted. The one that I wanted was from Dire Maul North off of a tribute, and it's called the Redoubt Cloak. This one is the only pre-bis cloak that actually has defense on it, so I'm still trying to get this one. As far as the off pieces go, I'm rocking Hammer of the Fallen Thing because it's really fast and it has stamina. Draconic Deflector is really good because it has defense, stamina, and fire res for Molten Core. Still working on this one. I have the 2% chance to block Libram here, but I'm working on the one from the Tur vendor for 25 Turs that gives you mana back when you block. And then as far as the trinkets that I'm going to be using, I'll be swapping between the Black Hand's Breath and then the Hardened Core here. And I also need to get the Fire Res trinket from the new dungeon. But Force of Will pretty much always stay on because defense is just king on Paladin. I have the 2 best rings because these are the only 2 rings that actually have defense. One is the Nagel ring and one is the defense ring from Cormac on the tier 0.5 quest line from Skullomance. So highly recommend getting your hands on these 2 rings if you can as a prop paladin. Everything else is just going to be tier 0.5. Of course, you're going to want the enchants like, you know, stamina, stats, maybe some fire res or agility on the cloak, strength on the hands, etc.
Rotation.
For the Pally opener, you're going to make sure you have Blessing of Sanctuary, Righteous Fury, and I like Ret Aura for dungeons. That's what I run most of the time. Pre-pull, you're going to pop Seal of the Martyrdom and then Holy Shield to activate your Defender's Resolve buff, which gives you spell power and attack power based on your defense. When you're running in, you throw in your Avenger's Shield, then drop Consecration, immediately hitting them with the Hammer of Righteousness that hits 3 target. And then you use Shield of Righteousness and Exorcism to fill, and then immediately make sure you're refreshing your Holy Shield, and then you're going to Hammer of Righteousness, Shield of Righteousness, Consecrate on CD. Make sure that your Seal of Martyrdom never drops, so make sure you refresh that just before it goes off. I never actually press Judgment on my multi-target build, just because the Paladin gets starved for globals, and you won't really ever be able to use that. And the other abilities, you get more value. For single target for Raid, it's very similar. You won't have Consecration for this build, so you'll primarily be using Shield of Righteousness and Exorcism as your filler. So I usually move those up top to signify that these are my top 3 abilities I should be using. And so the cooldown, the rotation is a little bit simpler. They're basically the same thing. You're going to open Seal of Martyrdom, Holy Shield before the pull. You can Exorcism or Avenger's Shield as you're running in, and then immediately Shield of Righteousness with Hammer of Righteousness and Exorcism to fill, and then you can Judgment as well. Make sure you take a look at your Defender's Resolve, and you're always ready to refresh that before that falls off. And then really using your Shield of Righteousness on CD is going to be the most important thing to get you max damage. Your Exorcism and Shield of Righteousness and your Hammer of Righteousness will always be your top damage on single target. Professions. For professions, I highly recommend blacksmithing and engineering. Blacksmithing because you can build out some special pieces of gear that you can get from reputations. As well as engineering, you can get sappers and target dummies if you run into trouble, which will help you with tanking as well as with threat. Enchanting being a close third, as you can get the sigils, which would give you plus 50 attack power or spell power. Consumables. For consumables, I highly recommend these as a baseline. Elixir of Giants, Elixir of Mongoose, Winterwall Fire Waters, Elixir of Superior Defense. You can have free action pots and lips in the event you need to immune a stun or immune some damage as a tank. Flask of Titans, of course, for your health pool. Mighty Trolls Blood Potions for health regen. Greater Arcane Elixirs, Lung Juice Cocktails, Major Healing Pots, Greater Fire Protection Potions, Gordog Green Grog, or you can have Rumsey Rum if you want to spend a little more money, and then the Elixir of Fortitude as well to boost your health. This is what I'll be using in pretty much every single raid as a prop paladin, and there are a few more other things you can do, like some Jujus from Winterwall, etc., but those are the baseline consumes I think you should be using as a prop pally. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the Prot Paladin guide for Season of Discovery Phase 4. If you like these guides, please hit subscribe, and I will see you next time.